I
All
see.
right. Go ahead, Beth.
We go.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I see Nora and Eric. Hi, Ari, Ladasha, and Cheryl. Welcome to sharing our stories. Nora, hi, Carrie and Carla, Trisha. Welcome to sharing our stories. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Henry. So as you guys are joining, if you prefer not, we are live streaming this, so if you prefer not being on video, this would be the time. Hi, Boot Money, to go ahead and turn off your video. Also in the chat, if you can just write where you're from, and if this is your first time on sharing our stories, and then we'll kind of know who everybody is that's joining us tonight. Hi, Nelson. How are you doing? Hey, Eric, Hank. Hi, Hank. Hank's one of our sharing our stories content creators, right, Hank?
Nice.
Yeah.
Every
Hi,
now and then.
everybody. What did you say?
Oh, I said every now and then. There's some content
Every
emerging.
now and then, yeah. Boot Money, I haven't seen you for a while, so it's good seeing you. I just so y'all know, I'm at a big rally that we're having with our Texas, all of our big candidates that are running, and we're in the Unitarian Church. So right now, I am sitting outside in my car to kind of get the show on the road. So, all right, okay. So Bill, if you want, because we're at 7:03 and still waiting for some folks, I mean, if you want, you can do your Northwest SOFA, or sorry, I said it wrong, Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action kind of overview while we're waiting for everybody to join us.
Bringing that up as we
Oh,
speak.
okay, good deal.
It should come up in just a few seconds. So Sabrina, I'm going to stop your slide
Okay.
as I bring that up.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is our 10th session of sharing our stories. We're just waiting for everybody to get on board, and Bill's going to just give us a quick overview of some of our Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action initiatives, issue groups, etc.
Well, hi, everybody. So just give you a little bit of an overview. We are NWSOFA, which stands for Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action. We originated in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, the land beyond O'Hare. We are an indivisible chapter, one of 2,700. Each of those little dots that you see there is a chapter across the U.S., and we are adding 3 to 4 a day, which is pretty amazing when you think of how fast this organization has grown and continues to grow. Today, like in all events that we have, we are presenting this to help you understand the facts, what is actually going on, to help you sharpen your arguments or your discussions with family, friends, folks that you work with, maybe teammates, etc. And then how best to communicate to your audience. And if we fulfill that today, we have achieved our goal. We are organized on a twin snowflakes organizational principle. On the left side is our communications principle, all those orange outlined areas. Is somebody doing something every day to get information out to you? Sometimes it probably feels like we are overloading you, but we guarantee we don't want you to have to send me an email that says, I missed something, I didn't know it happened. On the right-hand side are our 19 different issue groups. And you notice that the turquoise ones on the outside were all the major groups that we had up to this last year, when our organization literally exploded to 9,700 members locally and 25,000 nationally through Zoom. And on the inside on those blue outlines are all the new issue teams, and you'll see our sharing our stories out there, uh, which now has split off and is doing 3 different groups. So this is very dynamic. It's growing, and it's all done because we have 30 all volunteer leads across the U.S. now that work on this day in and day out. And as we said when we started, this is being YouTube live. It'll be up on the NWSOFA. That's NWSOFA.org website. You go up to that, you click on a little tab that says YouTube Live. You follow that link, and you'll see all the newest of the meetings that we've had. You got to click on that center one that says Live, because there's like 400 different videos in there. Just want to make sure everybody's watching out for No Kings 3, March 28th. This is one of the current maps, which almost 2,000 locations across the U.S., and another 20 or 30 that are national right now. So this is growing like crazy. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to do questions and answers. I'm going to let the host do that. So thank you all for being in attendance. Sabrina, Dr. Chris, let me turn it back to you.
Right. Okay. Um, while we're getting the slides back up, I'll just do a quick intro. So my name is Chris Weldy, and also on the call is Sabrina Drollinger. We are both leading this initiative. So I was the original organizer as appointed by Bill. And I'll tell you that
Volunteered.
story. I'll tell you that story in a minute, how he hooked me in. And then Sabrina very graciously, when I was getting a little overloaded, agreed to be the project manager. And boy, have things just taken a really good, it's really gotten it off the ground. So I'm really excited about that. So I think we're probably ready to go ahead and put up the slides, and I'll just kind of lead you through kind of how the group developed. So oh, okay, Sabrina's starting to share. Okay, so just while she's getting those up, so just okay, almost there you go. So we can go ahead and yeah, to the next slide. I think it's still kind of loading on my end anyway. There we go. We're good. Okay. So just again, a little bit of background. So what happened was we have, for many of you who are on this call, you know that we have a morning meeting every morning at 9 o'clock called Coffee and Conversation. And during one of those calls, and this was, gosh, like in May of last year, actually, we had one of our colleagues on the call was we were talking, and of course in May, keep in mind we were kind of relatively new to the Trump administration, right? And so some of the worst policies had not yet been implemented. But we did have a team member on the call that was very, very concerned about how these policies were going to impact her personally. And she shared that she had a very serious disability. And so she was worried about losing Medicaid because she relied on Medicaid. But in addition to that, she was also relying on HUD housing, which was another program that was on the chopping block, and I believe actually has been significantly cut. But she also relied on a program called Meals on Wheels, and it was right around this time that you may remember that they actually did cut off funding for Meals on Wheels, and then they later, because of court actions, had to reinstate some of that money. But I remember all the chaos that caused here in Texas as everybody was scrambling on, how they were going to manage to deliver, food to seniors who relied on that program. So, I mean, we were very, very moved and touched by her story. And it was so emotionally powerful that, you just had a single person that was going to be so significantly harmed by this administration, right? And so I asked Bill, because I had seen that dual snowflake principle, and I said, so Bill, I think we really it would be important to amplify these stories and get them out to people. And I saw on your snowflake model, you had this communication team. Is that something that maybe the communication team could do? And he said, well, the communication team kind of has a slightly different role than that, but we do have this tradition within Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action that if somebody comes up with a good idea, we say, that's a great idea. You should do that. So needless to say, that's when we officially formed Sharing Our Stories, and we had our first kickoff meeting in June. Um, so so and I before I get on to the kind of the roles and the things that we're looking for as part of this project is I'm hoping that everybody understands why stories are so important in terms of conveying, like it's one thing to say, hey, the Trump administration is going to cut Medicaid and SNAP, by $1 trillion, which is true. That's true, right? But it's another thing to actually meet somebody that's impacted by those cuts and then have them tell you how it's impacted their lives. So and people remember stories because it's an opportunity to kind of see things through their eyes. You're kind of living through the lived experience of that person that is being harmed. So in our last meeting, I think for those of you who were on, I don't think anybody can forget Jazz's story, right? I mean, it was just so emotionally powerful, the struggles that she had as a very young person with this very, very serious skin condition, the butterfly skin condition where your, skin is so fragile that, it can break, you're constantly using bandages and the challenges that she had in life, right? So let me then just transition to where we are with, the project. So part of the challenge that we had, and I let people know this up front, is I don't have the technical skills as a podcaster. I don't have the technical skills to do video content creation. So I relied on people who had those skills to volunteer. And early on, we had people volunteer to be writers. And I know we have some writers that are on the call tonight. And then we later found somebody that could be a video content creator. And she was with the project for a while, but then things got kind of complicated because we didn't really have we weren't fully ready to go, and she had a lot of things that were going on locally with her own Indivisible group. And then somebody on our Cecilia, who everybody knows, then referred me to Sabrina and said, I have a friend that has some background in podcasts, and we knew that podcast would be something we would want to do at some point. So needless to say, I reached out to Sabrina, told her about the project. She came on board. And then, as it turns out, not only does she have podcast background, but she also has video content creation. So we kind of, we now had that two skill sets. We have people on the team like Beth and others that are part of an amplification team. And we'll get into what all those roles are. But all of these, from using social media and town halls and doing letters to the editors. A lot of our congressional reps ask us for stories. They say, Bill, I know at one point you had some of his folks there saying, hey, Bill, I need stories. Can you share them with me? I think it was maybe when the healthcare, that was set, on the chopping block. And then, of course, later was chopped. So I've told you about Sabrina, and then we are going to have another guest speaker similar to Jasmine. We have another person, Jackie. I met Jackie at a Tallarico Jasmine Crockett watch party and had a chance to, just kind of talk to her and hear a little bit about her story before I connected her with Sabrina. And then so that's everything I've done, just kind of lays out what our agenda is for tonight. So Sabrina, can you go ahead and go on to the next slide? All right. So this slide really just talks about the roles that we need. So we are still looking for more volunteers. We need people that will help us find stories. So, so for those of you who are out and about in the community and just, like talking to people and, this is how we learn about people that potentially are impacted by some of these, like I said, policies. So you can be one of those. I volunteer to be part of that team. So, and then we have our video and written word, the content team, if you will. So some people that will do video shorts and also help with the podcast. And then we have others that are more comfortable with writing and can help write up some of the stories. So whether it's a Substack article like Constance just did for the Russian immigrants that, she stumbled into, and their experience having, one of their family members being detained and how that impacted their family, to even folks that can do letters to the editor and amplify some of the stories this way. And then we have folks that we need, people that can just help up and follow up, after we have story leads, and schedule and connect them to one of the teams. And then also the amplifiers. Like, I think Beth is one of our lead people on the AMP team. And so that's just getting these stories out through various platforms. So if you have a very robust social media presence, you could be on the AMP team and get the word out. And then we're going to establish our own social media accounts. So as we collect stories and we're ready to get them out, we'll have our own, forum to do that. So these are all the different opportunities that you have to get involved with the project. Okay, next slide. All right. And so this is just kind of where we are right now with the team leads. And so again, if you want to volunteer for any one of these areas, please let us know. And Sabrina or Beth, one of the two, will drop the links in the chat. So we'll actually drop two links. One will be, do you want to volunteer to be a volunteer with sharing our stories? But we'll also have another one that says, do you have a short story to share, or can you send that link to someone who may have a story to share? Okay, so that's how we kind of collect stories that way. All right, next slide. Oh, so I guess, okay, so I think we're now ready for me to turn it over to our project manager and Sabrina.
Thank you, Chris. Yep. So I just want to give a quick project update about where we are with our different individuals. We have had 5 individuals so far who have responded back. Chris has given us a number of people, and we've had 5 people respond so far that they are interested and they want to do the pre-interview. So we have 3 individuals we've already pre-interviewed. And we have a plan to begin recording for podcasts no later than 3/16/2026. So I'm hoping by next week I can start the 3 of those individuals, Jackie, Jasmine, and then another individual that will be podcasting as well. Those 3 individuals are first up, and then we have 2 more additional storytellers who are ready for a pre-interview. We're doing those tomorrow and Friday. And when all 5 are complete, we're going to have a social media storm, because Chris looked up some information and found out like there are certain amounts of times, like the first 15 minutes of posting something is like the most important for the algorithm. And then at 30, 45, and a minute or an hour, like there's different things that, it'll add on. But that first 15 minutes is super important. So we're going to have a plan in place, and you all hear about that once we're ready for that social storming social storming opportunity. All right, I just want to give a quick overview of the process, because people ask me a lot about this. Basically, I get stories 2 ways. Either somebody like Chris just hands over a name and a phone number and says, this is kind of what's going on with this individual, please contact them. And then also individuals might use a QR code, and the QR code goes directly to a form that asks the basic question: contact information, when are you available, and a short summary of your story. Once I get either one of those, I contact the individual. If they haven't done the form yet, I ask them to do it, just because it does provide a lot of information quickly and easily that I can get in 5 minutes if they just finish the form. And then we schedule the pre-interview. And we call it the pre-interview because this is where we get to know them, they get to know us. We have a conversation about what's going on with them. I learn a little bit more about where they are in their life, what is happening, what prompted them to come and tell their story, those kinds of things. just so that we can make sure we have a good idea of like what we're looking for. And then once we're done with that pre-interview, we take the recorded session because it is recorded as long as the individual's okay with it. And we make letters to the editor, letters to rep, etc. So basically the writing group takes over at that point. We have two writers already that have taken on a couple of the stories, and they are currently writing up their stories. Um, so we already are in that process, going for the first couple of stories, and that'll continue as we go on. Once we are completed with the pre-interview, there's some prep that has to happen, but then we'll do the podcast slash actual interview. So this will be recorded. It will likely be with Riverside just because it's easy to use right now. The nice thing about that is it cuts out clips for like social media and stuff for you, and it kind of gives you an idea of like how good the clip is or how viral the clip could go. And then the other option is for shorter stories that maybe don't aren't podcast length, we can still record them directly, or we can give them the option to self-record on their own video. I don't think we're going to have a lot of those, I'm afraid. I don't know. I mean, that's a good thing. Podcasts are good. That means it's a full, better story. I just don't know how many of those we're going to come across because so far, none. And then we edit the video. And that is a process, and it's easier to do on the other side. There's a lot of AI, so that's helpful. And then amp the video. And again, here we're looking to, we'll do that social media storming. If you do have a high follow count or even a decent follow count at this point, anything you have, if you have a count of one, I would love it if you could spread and share once we do that social media storming, that you do show up, that you do participate. And then even after that, continue to watch the videos, continue to share those kinds of things. Some of the writing will go into Substack and things like that as well. I'm not getting into all the details right now, just like a very high level overview. All right. Today we have, well, before I move on to Jackie, real quick, are there any questions about anything that we have said so far? And please raise your hand. I don't know if we went over that. Hopefully we did. And I can't see anything right now, really. Here, let's see if I can see. I don't see any raised hands, so I think it's all pretty straightforward. All right. So moving on. So today we have a lovely guest storyteller who agreed to come in. Jackie was laid off due to Trump tariffs, and we'll go more into the details there, but it was directly due to Trump tariffs. She has applied for over 500 positions, and if you have responded, and some of those were scams.
Yeah.
And apparently she's not the only one happening to right now. A lot of people are experiencing this. And unfortunately, she's had to make a difficult choice of taking a pay cut and potentially return to an entry-level position after years of working to increase her skill, increase her abilities, and correspondingly her title and her responsibilities and the autonomy and all the things that we know comes with higher level titles and pay. And unfortunately, she's not the only one in this position. I know others who are also in this position, and she does as well. So I am really, really happy to introduce our second storyteller, Jackie. Jackie, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Last name, but I'm so positive I'm gonna murder it.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me here tonight to share my story. I really appreciate it. So the way that I was impacted by the really, really bad policies coming out of the administration is the tariffs. So I worked in coffee and tea manufacturing for a global company. And with all of the going back and forth and all of the tariffs, coffee beans, especially, is a very luxury item that we all enjoy. But also, we don't grow that in America. We don't grow the coffee beans in America. And so those are all imported. And then you have the raw materials as far as the cardboard boxes and the plastic jugs and all of the components that go into manufacturing the coffee extract and then the labels that go onto it for any of the customers. So because of the tariffs, essentially, the company itself, while meeting some of those profits that they wanted to get back into their pockets weren't ever going to meet EBIT, and that's a manufacturing KPI. And so essentially, the round of layoffs that I was part of, 10 people were laid off to meet $1 million threshold to cut off the books. My salary doesn't come close to that. There were 10 of us laid off, 8 of us women, for an international company saying that by X amount of years, they wanted to increase their women in leadership roles for sustainability. And I was the one person leading that of sustainability. I had just launched an employee-led food waste reduction program. I was the only one, and they eliminated my position. So what truly sucks about that is the newest information that just came out, I believe this week, maybe tail end of last week, 0 jobs created in the month of February. I was laid off in September 2025. And with that, like it says on the slide, I have applied for probably conservatively 500 positions. And with those 500 positions, I have gotten ghosted. I have friends that are like, oh, use ZipRecruiter. And it's like, I already have that as a job alert. So I created all the job alerts that I needed to. I worked on my resume. And after the 2 scam job offers, one that would have been life-changing money, and I really wish it wasn't a scam. I basically got connected with Workforce Solutions in San Antonio, and they're hearing the same thing. I basically worked with my employee counselor or employment counselor, and basically I ran it by him, and he said, take the entry level job, because within the week of my orientation, his caseload and getting enrolled in the program, his caseload tripled. So he was hearing the same complaints that I was providing as far as scams, and even on work in Texas that you register with when you're trying to register for your unemployment benefits. There are scam jobs on that website as well. So basically, any scam person can go in and create a profile and do a post. So when I was talking to a representative from Texas Workforce Commission, I basically was like, yes, I am on the site right now, and there is a position that has no job description, no company title or name, and no salary requirements. Like, how they're not vetting. So we have all these scams. I'm not only competing in a completely saturated job market with my peers, but we're also competing against AI. So not only am I like trying to have a stellar resume, I also have to make sure that it can clear ATS, which is an AI platform that does pre-screenings of resumes. And already before my employment counselor, he ran it through the system, both through Copilot and ChatGPT. I have a score of a 7.5 on ChatGPT, and I have a score of 87. And I still can't make it.
Gosh, that has got to be incredibly frustrating.
It's defeating. It's defeating and incredibly frustrating. And hearing so many people then turn around and say, oh, well, I regret my vote, or how are we supposed to know, or nobody warned us. It's like I was screaming it from the mountaintop and basically was told that I was being hyperbolic and fear-mongering.
Yeah, I've heard similar things too. And even when sometimes they're facing
Yes.
result of this administration's policies. So it is an interesting thing. I can imagine you're very angry with this current administration.
The level of rage that I feel just is not being represented in the House or the Senate. Like, there's a handful of people who are really upset within elected office, but not enough. And we really need to get away from these centrist Democrats or that just play patty cake and allow for these really bad policies and vote in, favor and support of these really bad policies that are coming out, because there's nothing on AI to rein that in. The big, beautiful bill that just passed is causing energy to skyrocket. I mean, my energy bill for last month was $400, and I live in a 104-year-old house now. I have done foundation work on it. I have gotten a new door put in. We work on, getting all the cracks filled and all that kind of stuff for weatherization. The only thing that I did different was essentially add an extra heat lamp in my greenhouse, because I have these giant plumerias, and that's a whole different subject, but they don't fit in my house anymore. So I had a greenhouse built when I was making money, and added one extra heat lamp, which does not generate that much extra energy. We did nothing different. We keep the house at 68 degrees. I put on my layers. I dress like a homeless person in my house because I just needed to stay warm. And it's insane. And it's only going to get worse because you have data centers and you have price cuts for all of these safety nets that are put in place for our society being taken away from us, just chiseled away. And sometimes not even chiseled, just a full on, sledgehammer taken.
Absolutely. And one of the negative consequences of you not having a job, I know that the way you and Chris met,
Yes.
that you had a knee brace on or something. I'll let you tell it so I don't butcher the story.
Yeah. So in the course of trying to survive and pay bills, and I've already dipped into my IRA to help cover the expenses because unemployment is a fraction of what you actually bring home. So tied to that is, because of bad policies, our healthcare is tied to our employment. If you lose your employment, you lose your healthcare. You go to Marketplace, you get something that's catastrophic because you can only afford $100 and something plan, which means that your deductible is $10,000. So what happened is my friend went out of town. Bless her. She asked me to watch her dogs for her. I love them. They're huskies. They're blue-eyed devils. True to the husky name, right? And so what happened is that the gate accidentally opened because the button hit just right. And let me just tell you, I went chasing after them with their chicken jerky treats, and they just went on their own adventure and could care less. So I already have had hip surgery at the age of 36. So it's not like I'm as nimble as I used to be. So with the help of neighbors, finally caught them. They, enjoyed their chicken jerky treats in my car as I got them back home. And I'm like, you lost all of your backyard privileges, you brats. And later that day, I'm sitting on the deck, hanging out with my dogs in my backyard, and my knee pops just right. And then I feel, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of fluid in that swelling. That's not okay. But I can't take over the counter pain medication like other people can, because I'm allergic to acetaminophen, and I can't take ibuprofen anymore due to the hip surgery. That's a different story. So I would basically have to go to urgent care to get an anti-inflammatory, which I have not done because, again, with what money? So I bought an over-the-counter knee brace to keep my knee from swelling.
How?
And so this is how Chris and I got connected, is because at this watch party for the debate, we got to chatting afterwards. And basically, it's like, this happened, and here is the domino effect after.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. By the way, how is your knee doing? Has it been?
It's doing okay. I do have it wrapped just for the moment because I was walking around with it without it. And then yesterday I stepped just right and I was like, oh, there's that shooting pain that I'm like, ooh, nope, we're gonna go get that brace and then I'm gonna take Stella for a walk because, she jumps the privacy fence and talk about losing backyard privileges.
Yeah, my son has a Malwa place here.
Malamute or a Malinois.
Malamute, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, he is like a little park, and I'm like, he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, take him off this leash. I just
Mhm.
waiting for him to jump over that fence.
Oh yeah, no, Stella, when I first moved into the house, because the requirements were I needed a really good kitchen because I like to cook, and then I also needed a really big backyard with a strong fence. So the 6.5 foot privacy fence I thought would work. Motivations of trying to catch a cat. It is Simone Biles skills just showing off for everyone in the neighborhood to then hear me scream, Stella. Had I known, I would have changed the name.
That's kind of awesome, and I wish I lived next door to you.
I am that neighbor. I really am.
Before all of this stuff was going on, what were your plans for life? Like, what were you planning on doing?
Well, had Kamala Harris gotten into office, I would have really seriously considered more of an entrepreneurship of some sort because of the type of money that she was going to be providing for those people who wanted to branch out on their own. I can't do that now. I mean, I can't.
Right.
And I never had touched my IRA, never had touched it. And now I've taken $10,000 out of it that I'm not even going to be able to repay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and finding out that I should have been paid a whole lot more for the job title that I had
yeah,
versus what I was being paid, you know, and now again, so the plans that I had eventually was basically I wanted to die in my sleep and be half eaten by dogs
oh,
by the time I was found. And now it looks like I'm just going to die at a desk, just like somebody from Lisa Frank and Wells Fargo. And I mean, those are the two that stand out. I'm sure other people have had that happen, but that's not the way anyone should go.
no,
D-
no,
I I mean, really, we're headed so much more for a dystopian, future versus the utopian future that I really wanted to be more part of. Communing with nature every single day and just being able to have my little backyard vegetable garden. And now I have to do it out of necessity. It's not out of just the wants.
yeah,
I mean, I'm having to grow my cauliflower, which looks awful because of the chaotic weather that San Antonio just throws at us. But I mean, tomatoes, eggplant, strawberries, like I've got all of this in my backyard because again, with the bad policies, now the EPA is, oh yeah, you can use forever chemicals on, as pesticides. It's fine. We don't care. We're rolling back clean air. We're rolling back clean water. Like, we don't care. So the reverse osmosis that I did invest in on my house was a really good investment.
yeah, definitely was.
I mean, it's so bad. And I just don't understand how people are still supporting him. And I have friends who have voted for this man 3 times and refused to talk politics with me. And I'm like, But you have to see how this impacted you as well.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was unemployed for 6 months because she got laid off.
Dang.
And she had to take a pay cut to get back into the workforce.
Yeah.
And she's older than I am, so she had to have been experiencing more ageism than I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
Because now apparently 40s and 50s are the new 60s, and so ageism is just rampant.
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely know friends who have experienced similar experiences. And it's unfortunate because legally they're not allowed to do it, but to prove it and to get it to court and everything is so expensive,
Yeah,
they just rely on you not doing anything,
yeah,
taking it and walking out and not getting the job because who's going to say anything when you're looking for a job?
exactly.
Yeah. Um, so one of the things that your story really says to me is you are an American who did everything you were told to do. You got an education because you did, right? And you worked hard. You went
Mhm.
job after job. You continually worked. You continually showed up. You continually increased you pulled yourself up by the bootstraps, right? You did the thing you were supposed to do, right?
Yes.
And at the end of that, we have a government, right? The government is right there. They can do anything they want. They
Mhm.
can spend that money any way they want.
Yeah.
They should do it according to what the citizens want, but I won't even go there. Yeah. So if you could decide what that looked like when you lost your job, if you could describe what it would look like when you lost your insurance and everything, if the government, because what you're saying right now is the government didn't show up.
No.
They didn't show up with the insurance. They didn't show up with money. And I know what you mean about the employment. And here in Florida, it goes up to $1,000 max for the month. I don't know how people live off of that.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
insane.
Yeah, so you've talked about the negative. What would you have hoped would have happened from a good government that supported its citizens?
So I was laid off when COVID hit, Trump 1.0.
Mhm.
And I will say this, that because when Democrats were in the House, um, there were safety nets put in place that are not put in place now. So there was extra unemployment benefits being paid out, and you weren't necessarily exhausting your unemployment benefits within the 6 month threshold. Like if it was taking you a little bit longer, I was able to qualify for forbearance on the mortgage of my house. I don't qualify for that for the mortgage of my house this time. So I've been having to pay the mortgage on my house as well as all of the other bills, foundation work, gutters, how, door, all of these things. And when I accepted a lower paying job that time, I went into that lower paying job with no credit card debt. And because of it being a lower paying job, I had to put groceries on credit cards. I really don't want to have to do that again. And now things cost more because of the bad policies. So, really, we need to take and sever that connection between health insurance and job employment.
Mhm.
They cannot be tied together because you have so many people in catastrophic situations. We have actors who were making money off of the royalties of the syndication of their um, shows, the series, and they have GoFundMe's because they passed away. And it's just absolutely insane for a country who claims to be so great and for a country who claims to be so wealthy that we treat our citizens this way. When we lift up even our most vulnerable citizens, we're better as a community and as a nation.
Yes.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So that needs to go. We need to be able to claim our dogs and cats as dependents on our tax returns. During the housing bubble, what happened was there were so many dogs and cats left behind and abandoned in these houses that were foreclosed on. And it basically, after the investigation happened and was acknowledged in the findings, what they discovered is that it was tied to, we don't get to claim them as dependents for medical care or like food, housing, all that kind of stuff. Yes, we get to claim children, but it's the same status. Like children aren't necessarily contributing to society right now at the age of 6. I
Right.
mean, granted, we're lowering the child labor laws, so that might be changing, but it
Oh,
shouldn't. It
yeah.
shouldn't. And
It should.
that's another bad policy, right?
Yes.
But we, as a childless person, as a single person,
Yeah.
even if there's a cap, because I have 5 1/4, even if there's a cap, at least that would give me something back on my tax return.
Yeah.
They're all spayed, they're all neutered, they're all up to date on shots. I have one that has cancer that I haven't been able to get into a vet because I don't have any money.
Yeah. I know that.
And it kills me. It
Hmm.
kills me. The only thing I can do is make her as comfortable as I possibly can. And that hurts my soul.
I know.
Um, we need to be able to, and it's not just unemployment, it is like an employment compensation. If you lose your job,
Yeah.
you have a different kind of income coming in to help fill that gap, but also a little bit afterwards when you accept a job because it has affected so much that it takes you that much longer to get back on your feet.
Agreed. Agreed. I remember when I was young, the Mormons came and helped us out because my family was struggling. And they didn't just help us out for 1 month, they helped us out for 3, and that was the exact logic they had. You've
Yeah.
been struggling for a while, 1 month probably is just barely going to get you above water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I agree wholeheartedly. And I know you talked about earlier about how Europeans have like a lot of free time, and maybe
Yeah.
not on this call. I'm sorry, I'm probably
No,
confusing
that was in the pre-interview, but
interview. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at our counterparts in the UK and in other countries, I mean, medieval peasants had more time off than we do right now. It's a
that
fact.
I know, and it's I'm laughing more out of anger than anything.
I mean, it's incredibly insane and it's incredibly stupid. And yet the anger that I have is in 2 different text messages today. I basically said we need to start adding French style to our protesting. And when I say that, I mean bring back guillotines, put heads on stakes. I mean full on revolution style.
I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. We do promote a nonviolence method, but I understand where you're coming from. It's very
Yeah.
frustrating, and it feels like not an it feels like a huge amount of push for what we need, and we're still not going to get close to what we want. So I get it.
Yeah, and I mean that's the level of rage. Realistically, I know that, that happened in a different time frame,
Sure.
but even when they were trying to up the age of retirement in France, they took to the streets in
Yeah.
a different style of protest than what we have been doing.
Yeah, and I've actually heard it's tied to the fact that they have the time and can
Yeah.
actually leave their work and
Yes.
go do this without fear of losing their job or having to take too much leave or whatever else. Like that, I've heard is actually one of the reasons they can have protests. Because I saw one in Greece too, and it was over a investigation into a train accident, and the citizens didn't like the responses like 2 years later
Yeah.
and rioted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I did hear, yeah, there's lots of reasons Americans should be looking more for the European style of living, I think. And one of them,
I'm just, like they get 2 weeks off for essentially Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
We're lucky if we get the week, basically because we have strategically looked at where Christmas and Christmas Eve fall on the calendar and how to use our PTO strategically.
Right.
Because heaven forbid we have to get sick or we have to go in for our surgery, and we need to make sure that we have this time
Absolutely.
to roll over.
Exactly. Exactly. And I can imagine for you in particular, this is very frustrating. I know I remember one quote, which I would love for you to share about how it would be easier if there were zombies and this was an apocalypse. Be
Oh
apocalypse,
yeah. No, the end of times would be so much easier to accept if there were zombies involved and not The Handmaid's Tale
right?
and The Purge.
Exactly.
D-
Oh my
I'm-
God. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I just would be able to accept it more if I didn't have to pay a mortgage and the only thing I had to worry about was boarding up my windows.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Um, so what are you doing to keep your head, if you don't mind sharing, what are you doing to keep your head above water? I know you said you took some money out of your IRA. Are you having to do any of the other things? I know you have a garden out of necessity now.
Yeah, so basically trying to root fig tree cuttings and see if I can sell those for like $5 a pop. Um, I have, so because I am vegan and of the plant-based orbit, vegan cheese is very expensive. And on top of it, it has been eliminated from a lot of the shelves. And I think that that's also tied to tariffs as well.
Mm,
So a lot, I have a friend within the vegan community who reached out to me and basically wants me to make her this artisan cheese. And as she can talk about it with her friends, kind of branch out and help me compensate with, obviously that would pay for the ingredients, but also a little bit of a profit as well.
right.
So what I had done is basically went through mathematically, like pricing out all the ingredients, what other vegan artisan cheese makers are charging for their cheese via Etsy or online,
Yeah.
and trying to make it competitive
Mhm.
to where I can, survive a little bit. And if worse comes to worse, I'm starting to sell, feet pictures on the internet and get the dogs involved with their only paws fans to help, because a friend of mine just today was like, oh, well, you can get a side gig and you can, get another job. And I'm like, that's absolutely ridiculous and unacceptable. Nowhere should I, in this day and age, 2026 of the Lord, should I have to work. And this is across the board, not just me, but everybody. Should we have to work more than one job, 40 hours a week to make ends meet? And that is where, sorry for the people who are of the older generation, but we need to get boomers out and get fresh, new
Yeah.
eyes in Congress to be able to represent us, because they're raping the environment. They're
Sure.
basically in this get rich quick scheme trying to take everything that they possibly can and leave nothing for us.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree. I do think that I mean, climate change alone tells you that that's happening. I mean,
And
climate change alone. But this is the thing too, and I hear what you're saying. Um, so it must be exceptionally difficult for somebody like you who is vegan to see all of that on top of all the other things that are going on, which nobody likes.
yeah,
The environmental stuff really bothers me too, but probably not to the same degree that it does you, just because I'm not vegan and I've got different attitudes.
sure.
Yeah, so I hear you. And so it's interesting. The point is, it's interesting to see how even something as small as that can make
Mhm.
a huge difference in somebody's life. I know you talked about how because you're vegan, your dogs are also vegan,
Yes.
and you've had to stretch the food and stuff because you're used to giving them vegan food and they're used to eating it. I can't even imagine giving them something else right now. Oof.
It is very, very difficult. And I mean, they kind of, my mom's just like, Jackie, get over it. And I'm like, oh, it's a little hard to,
Yeah.
because I know how it is in a factory farm. Not that I've ever worked in a factory farm, but I have read plenty of books and I have seen plenty of footage of what actually happens and the stories of employees who have worked there. And by OSHA requirements, that is the number one most unsafe job within the US.
Mhm.
And we're even dialing back OSHA regulations. So it impacts those workers as well as the workers that I used to work, with at this coffee and tea manufacturing company because you have to take safety into consideration. And it also affects everybody as the end consumer because what are you now ingesting? What is in there? Is it a disease of some sort or is it a hand? I mean, these are realities, and I'm so sorry to do that to everybody who eats animals. And, but I mean, it really is one of those things that it's so interconnected.
Yeah.
And if you have even one bad policy,
Yeah.
let alone the multiple bad policies,
Yes.
just the after effect and the domino effect of all of that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was pointing out with you. And I do understand your saying, we need to kind of get the boomers out. And I think you're right because there is not because the boomers are bad or whatever, but because we need young people who have recently finished their education. So they got more, while we still need the boomers and the Gen X and all those
Yeah.
for experience and to guide the younger people, we are not, I agree, we're not bringing enough young people in. And because there should be more young people in Congress, for example, that's a prime example of representation where you don't see enough young people. And
Absolutely.
we really do need their voice too, as well as all the others, and not be overwhelmed with one voice,
But I also think that they also understand the technology that
Yeah.
exists nowadays that some people don't.
Yeah, I don't mean to
Like,
laugh, but
I
it's
mean,
Candace's
we
attitude.
watch Mitch McConnell glitch out and during press conferences and we laugh, but
Yeah,
that's not right.
it's
Like,
not.
he shouldn't be there.
He shouldn't.
He needs to go.
And they should not talk about technology the way they do. Like
No.
it was embarrassing the way, and that's why I was laughing. It was embarrassing the way
Yes.
they talked to those leaders of tech. And it was like, oh my God, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And I am near 50, so I'm not even young.
I'm 47.
Yeah, me too.
Like I have friends who are, of boomer generation and in their 70s and call me youngster and that you're still young and you can bounce back from all of this. And I'm thinking, I'm not because I don't want to work until I'm 70.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, I I want to commune with nature. I want to be able to sit there and watch, you know, the butterflies in the butterfly garden
Yeah.
areas that I'm putting up. I want to make sure that the hummingbirds have food to eat. So I'm getting a hummingbird garden in my yard and setting up all these little different areas carved out for specific species.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
how am I supposed to do that? Because that all costs money too.
yeah.
So I'm being really creative and going to my friends' yards. Hey, can I just get a snip of this so that way I can propagate and put in my yard?
Yeah.
And basically trying to make sure that it survives the dogs being assholes.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
they
get that.
are.
I know. Mine never met a paper it didn't love to rip up, of course. But yeah, no, and I would argue that you deserve that not before you're set, not at 70, but even before. You
Yeah.
should have tranquility and peace and calmness and time Too many
Yes.
people today do not have enough time. I mean, one of the things that I think you commented tonight was that it's been nice having some time. And I'm guessing what you mean is no stress, like less, lower stress. You don't have a boss calling you, or well, maybe you can just tell me.
Yeah, so I mean, it sucks with the whole lack of income, right?
Hmm.
Because we are a capitalistic society instead of a social society. And we deem the more you have, the better off you are, right?
Hmm.
But it's nice not having to put together a PowerPoint and be knee deep in, the foils that Visio is doing because it's just auto-correcting itself and the love-hate relationship that you have with Adobe. So there is that, but it doesn't mean that I'm any less on the computer because every single day I'm opening up my computer and I'm checking the various job boards where I have the alerts for this, that, and the other
Hmm.
and trying to go through. And some days I only apply for one position, and then there are days where I can apply for up to four. And on a weekly average, I'm getting anywhere between 11 and 13.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I'm still not getting callbacks. And so anytime I open up my phone to check, glance through the emails, and there's another rejection email in there, I just kind of take a deep breath because my mom, I'll give you something to cry about, as a child, is kind of still that way, out of touch now, and she lives with me, and I'm basically the caregiver. I drive her to and from the appointments, so I need something with that flexibility that at least with this entry level position, the type of company that it is, I will at least have that. But um it's still, she's so out of touch. I don't get to process my feelings
Mm, okay.
until she's upstairs.
Yeah.
So it's like the repress the repressing of the feelings, and because any good Gen Xer, this is basically how we cope. um
Yep. Real
and
help.
yeah, I mean, this is how we cope.
It is. I mean, for a long time I did too. Yeah. So Gen X is really bad about suppression.
And it's one where there are pros and cons to everything,
Mm.
unfortunately. And so I have a lot of friends who will, oh, well, if you're just really positive, and I'm like, I'm not going to be this toxic positivity. I'm just never going to be that ray of sunshine. I am going to be the dark, inappropriate humor that everybody needs to have,
Yeah.
that friend, because I'm going to make you laugh, but I'm also going to see the reality to it. But vegan mascara is too expensive to cry off. So you just kind of laugh and you go on.
That's right.
I mean, either I can laugh about the story or I can cry about the story. Either way, I'm knee deep in it and I just have to continue on.
Yeah, and I want to say you are a real model of perseverance. I'm not sure I could still, even though you're not a ray of sunshine, I don't know that I could. I don't know if I could still be you right now with your, funny jokes and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, who cares if they're morbid? I mean, yeah, whatever. I do that too. Um, I make jokes. Oh, that's my anxiety speaking. Sorry.
Yeah,
Whatever, joke about and move on.
it's our masking, it's our
Yeah.
coping.
Yeah.
These are our skills that we were given.
Yeah. And you know what? You're pulling it off well, is all I'm saying. Hopefully, it's not too toxic. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your experience to help people understand how much this has impacted you and how, because I mean, honestly, you did nothing wrong. You didn't do anything to deserve this. This happened to you 1,000%, right? So it's got to, I know it's frustrating and all these other things, but is there anything else to kind of like let us know, help us understand where you're at?
I mean, I think at this point, Um, it sucks starting all over again. And it just like I'm excited because this position, a friend of mine, I'm going to be working really closely with.
Okay.
And she and I have worked together in the past, and we didn't get to work as closely together and all that kind of stuff. It just sucks because even for her team that I will be a part of, they're not making what they should be making because, again, bad policy
Yep.
and not taking the worth of what the role requires.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she wishes she could pay me more because she wants me to stay on her team. She knows that this is going to be just the placeholder and just kind of like that stepping stone. I can't afford to have this stepping stone be a year, though.
Yeah.
We need to get jobs created. And for all of the green energy that goes back to the environment and climate change that Trump just nixed with the auto pen
Mhm.
is absolutely ridiculous because that created jobs.
Mhm.
And if we don't evolve, we're gonna go the way of the dinosaurs.
Absolutely. I agree. That's one of the things I keep thinking is extinction is on the horizon at the rate we are going.
I mean, I'll take one for the team. I mean, we're already parasites on the planet, but we should be better stewards.
We should. I agree. We should, if not for ourselves, although you would think we would have some kind of self-inclination to do it. Certainly for all the other living creatures that we are absolutely.
No, all of these GOPers who are like, but it's for the children. Really? You're robbing the children of all of their precious resources that they should be using when they're, come of age and adults and all that kind of stuff. And of age does not mean 6 years old.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, age should be like 25, but anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, I will say, I heard somebody, I can't remember if it was a comedian or something, describe a job as an employer taking your life force. And I was like, oh, and that really changed my perspective on my work and what I was doing. Like, they're taking my life, parts of my life.
Yeah.
Are they paying me enough for that? And that's a good question to ask ourselves, I think.
I mean, they're never going to pay us enough for that. I think if you're able to find a position where you love the majority of it, because you're never going to love 100% of it. I mean, it's all going to be like there's going to be days that make you question every life decision that brought you there. But if you enjoy most of it, and this is the sad part, is that I enjoyed most of what I was doing.
Oh,
I was trying to carve out a career path.
yeah.
When I was doing my round of interviews with that company, I had one of the interviewers ask, well, why is it that you only remain at a job for about 2 years? Well, I'm either not getting paid or I'm on supervisor number 7 who's not advocating for me to get any kind of pay increase, or B, I'm laid off.
Yeah.
Or it's grant funding and it's ended, or it's a contract and it's ended
Yeah.
because you are resourceful and you take what you think makes sense at the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I don't know why they were asking that anyway. As an IO psychologist, 2 years is fine at a job. That's a perfectly acceptable amount of time at a job. And in fact, this is another way in which maybe the older and younger generations aren't really seeing eye to eye because
Yeah.
no, that we don't have the loyalty because there's no loyalty from your employer. Why
Right.
would the employees be loyal? So
I'm getting asked this question from that prior employer who ultimately ended up laying me off.
no,
Were they
nice.
the same person? Absolutely no. Same company? Absolutely yes.
Yeah, and then you should have gone back and been like, this is why I only get 2 years.
Yeah.
because you guys don't know what you're doing. Anyway, thank you so much, Jackie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me again. I'm just happy to be able to put a face with the stories because these are real life impacts.
Yeah, they are.
Mhm.
It's changing people's lives. I mean, your life must look wildly different at this point than you expected it to look a year or two ago.
Definitely a different trajectory than it was last year at this time.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not the only one. I
Yeah.
mean, so many people's lives are being destroyed right now.
Mhm.
It's not fair and it's not right. And I'm sorry it's happening to you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming. Really appreciate it. And I'll be in contact with you soon to do like the full-on podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know more about that. And of course, you can leave if you want. We're going to have a little bit more, but we're about done. It's totally up to you if you want to stay or go. Totally up to you.
I have some cashews that I need to soak, so
Okay.
I am going to graciously log off now. It was
Okay.
great getting to put this out there, and I look forward to more collaboration in the future.
Me too. Thank you, Jackie.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay.
Oh, sorry if anybody had questions.
Oh, does anybody have a question? I can stay on because I'm still trying to like search on my exit.
I didn't know. Laura or are there any questions? Because I obviously have not been paying attention. Got a couple. Um, Hold on. Sorry, I'm just looking through real quickly.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't see,
good.
I don't see any hands up, but I don't see any questions in the chat in the last minute or so.
Okay. Okay. I got a bunch of messages that I didn't read any of them. So I didn't do any of the things anybody wanted me to all this whole time. Next time, send me a text, people. That'll
You,
notice.
you knew that was going to happen.
I said, don't leave me with the chats. I won't be paying attention. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, Jackie. I really
Bye,
appreciate
guys.
it. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I think, well, to whatever extent you can enjoy listening to somebody's very difficult story. But I'm doing this to kind of give you guys a flavor of all the different ways that, of course, Trump is impacting people and the ways that we can tell their stories and what those stories should be and what they should sound like. Because I don't want you guys to feel limited in any way, like, oh, just we're focused on people who have healthcare issues, or we're focused on people who are dealing with ICE. So it's nothing like that. It's just if you hear a story about the policies of the administration or even the government long term, I mean, not having universal health care for so long when so many other countries have it, even poorer countries than way poorer countries than us have it, and look what it's doing. It's impacting people like Jackie, who, through no fault of her own, can't even go get her knee checked because she doesn't have enough money to get her knee checked. And how many people did we hear weren't taking medications during COVID because they didn't have the money and everything else? So just think, I mean, if it is the Trump administration in particular, that's fine, but it can also just be the way the government maybe isn't working for us anymore, whenever they happen to in the past, maybe the 30s through the 70s or something like that. Anyway. Okay, that's just me being ornery. All right. So if you do want to, oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to stop sharing because I forgot to. If you do want to, if you do find a story that you want to share, we do have a sign up and a QR code. I'm going to do my best to see if we can't get that on here before I leave. And then the other thing is, if you are interested in participating and helping out, we have people who are writing. I don't know if they're on tonight, but Donna Miller and Cheryl Bender just offered to help out with some writing. They're doing the first couple of stories for us. I know Joe and Jeannie and stuff are coming on the AMP team and they're helping out. So like there's a lot to do if you like writing, if you like amping on social media, being on social media, if you're interested in being the podcaster. I mean, I am open. If you got the skills to do it, great. Come show me. Because I certainly don't want to do all these podcasts. I enjoy doing podcasts, but I got things to do. I can't just be doing this. So it would be really awesome if you all decided to come in and participate and help out. That would be amazing. We are moving along, and I expect once we finally get that first social media run going, we're going to be hitting the road running. Did I say that right? Sounds wrong, but okay. Anyway, okay. So are there any questions at this point? Anybody have any questions about what has happened? Um, okay. Sorry, I just looking to see. Um, anyway, I'm going to stop this for 1 second because then I can copy and paste. Um, when does this end? I forgot. Bill? Is Bill on still? Oh, there he is.
I am.
It said
What time?
9:30 in the original
9:30.
sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was 30 or not, but I was like, oh, it's 15 or 30, and I can't remember which one it is. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Hank. Okay, I am going to copy that information real quick, but anybody have any comments? Hank, you have a comment on any of this?
Not really. I mean, I think you and I we confer about some things, but I think you know, Jackie is, as you said, and as she knows, one of many. And anyway, I think it was compelling, and she's obviously got a style that is it's already kind of hooks you, which is, it's the form and content are related, clearly. Um, and so the way that she speaks, as well as what she has to say, is compelling. And I think so that's ideal for this project.
I do too.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so we've been actually kind of fortunate in that we've been able to find individuals who are kind of compelling.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
Really.
Jasmine is a very compelling storyteller as well. So I'm grateful that we have that. It's not necessary. We can work with anybody. I mean, I'm not that exciting, but people listen to my podcast, so I gotta say about that. But okay, I'm sorry. I'm doing my very best. Okay, I definitely want to get at the very least into the chat this. I don't have the QR code on me, and I know I have it somewhere in my stuff, but I get too frazzled. This will take you to the form to share a story. So if you find somebody who wants to share a story, this will take you to that form. Or if you are interested in helping out, let me grab that one as well. 1 second. I should have had this prepared. I was so prepared for everything else.
Hmm.
Ah, you know how that goes. Okay, here is the other link for, and I know we've shared this many times on this. I just wanted to share it one more time in case anybody. So the first link is to share a story. Oh, thank you, Chris. You're the bestest. Chris did a prettier job of what I tried to do. And so in here you'll see volunteer sign up and to share your story. So if you meet anybody who's interested in sharing their story, please let us know. Please send them over. We just, I really think these stories are going to make a real impact
Hmm.
and that they can make a real change. And so I really hope everybody here tonight is excited and on board and willing and ready to help continue this effort. And that's really all I have to say. I know we have 10 more minutes, but I will never talk for 10 minutes just to keep you. Okay, Hank has his hand up though. He
Yeah, I don't want to
apparently
talk for 10 minutes either. I want to say that, there's so many possibilities and ways that creatively we can develop this. Um, I can't not say a word on behalf of boomers, although McConnell is older than that, and so is the idiot in Iowa, Chuck, and oh, they're not boomers,
Jesse.
they're pre-boomers or whatever they are. Bombers, not boomers. But nevertheless, I just want to say, I was in a group today of people around that age, and a number of them grew up in countries under fascism and lived through that. And these are folks, indeed, who are in their 70s, for example, or 80s, and talking about what it's like to have grown up and spent early part of their lives under fascism and find themselves back in fascism at the end of their lives. That's just another kind of story in itself. And what was compelling was the fact that not only were these individuals, but the group was building on itself and people added. So as one potential model, as things develop, there could be, and I don't want to, I'm not fond of the notion of focus groups in this context, but whether you call them group interviews, whether you call them group conversations, I mean,
Yeah.
that's another format which could
Yeah.
develop. 'Cause some people, people build off of each other. So one story, kicks off another one and people discover things together. So the single story model may be one, whether long or short, and group conversation model, um, in which, and again, a number of people are sharing quotes, not just nice stories, but reflections, insights, analyses, etc.,
Yeah.
and tactics of various kinds.
And I would never suggest that the entire generation of boomers is useless or whatever. And I don't think that was even her suggestion. I think,
I'm just being defensive.
yeah, no, it's okay. I agree that there are plenty of people out there who are I mean, hello, all the boomers that I talk to every day, because I know at least some of you are boomers. And I love what you guys say. I mean, I love that you're here and that you're showing up. But it's kind of like when women in general talk about men, I think it's just it's overwhelming, the numbers sometimes, like in Congress, the numbers are overwhelming. And then they don't listen to the young people. I mean, the way they treated Mandani is a clear reflection, and we heard it from the youth forum, right? They also said, like, what's your biggest issue with dealing with other adults who are older? And their thing was, they treat us like we don't know anything, like we're too young to be leaders, like we're too young. And so I think what we're asking for is more balance, probably more than just get rid of them all. I know they say that because it feels good. All right. Anyway, okay. Boo Bunny, did you have something to say? I don't know. I don't think I have to unmute you, do I?
Stop, Tinker.
Oh,
Stop.
oh, sorry. I should have touched that.
Stop.
I don't think she's talking to me. I'm gonna mute her. Did you get unmuted? I think I messed it up, Boot Money. Did you want to unmute? There we go.
Hey, I think I might be unmuted.
There you are.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, good. You didn't hear me swearing then, did you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, good. Hey, quick question. When you formulate your stories, are you seeing a long-term connection to the stories, or is this just going to be something that ages out with the 2026 election? Because I think there's an opportunity here to do a much deeper dive than there's a much bigger mix that you've got stories about. All right. And I appreciate what was her name? Jacqueline?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, her story is important because it grounds us in the emotionality that we are all in, but we might not feel it quite as tightly as she does, right? But there's another story there, and that's maybe how did Sabrina get involved in this? Or how did Dr. Chris get involved with this? Or where the heck did Bill Davis come from? I mean, there's questions about ourselves that will have value if we're going to be a long-term organization. If we're just in it for, let's see if we can get a couple more of this party or that party elected, all right, then we're going to ask different questions. But if you see this as a long-term commitment to changing society, to rectifying most of the stuff that's been piled on us so far, then we got a different story to tell, I think.
I would
Just
say,
a thought, just a
yeah,
thought.
no, I would say there are two factors that influence it. I do not believe that we will end at the end of the midterms simply because midterms is not going to fix the problem. The midterms is going to plug the hole. It's going to stop the bleeding, hopefully. That is not fixing the patient. That's not, fixing the problem. And so, in my opinion, assuming that that doesn't poof magically go away, which I assume it won't, and two, that we are successful at bringing these stories to the audiences that need to hear it and that it is a success, that representatives are able to use them effectively, that we are usually can use them against representatives effectively if we need to, or persuasively with representatives when we need to. And so I do believe this is a long-term thing, assuming we are still going to have a mess to clean up, which I assume we will, and that it is a successful endeavor. And I do think we should go into depth. I mean, Bill and I have actually already talked about some things in the past, but one of the things I would like to capture is the story of, as Beth calls it, Noah Sofa. And
Right.
yeah, and
This
find out.
is important stuff
I
because
think so.
if we're on the right side of history and the organization will sustain itself, this history is going to be needed down line long after you and I are off the planet. All
Okay.
right. And I think we need to think in terms of our long-term viability and as a permanent piece of whatever this new social structure is going to be. And those stories are going to feed the next generation of the people doing the same thing we're doing.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying about long term and that it'll be important when we're gone because I can't tell you the number of times I have in the last year or two looked up trying to find information about the typical life of somebody living under Nazi Germany or living under, Stalin or
Mhm.
whoever. I've been
Right.
looking for those stories to be like, what were they going through? Because it's this weird dichotomy of everything's normal. I got to go to my job and take care of my kids, and they got to go to school and everything else. And then crazy things are happening in our country. So it's just like you're living in this weird dichotomy that I think is important for people to understand in the future because I don't think it will be obvious without these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. You
I,
can't you can't see the forest till you see the trees, right? But
exactly.
then you got to look for the forest too.
Yeah. And that hopefully will build a forest in the attempt.
That's
Okay.
it.
Joe, did you have a question or a comment?
I just had a comment, and I really appreciate Sabrina your framing her comment about boomers, in the same way that some men talk about women. Um, the, I'm a boomer, and I'm still in the workforce for a variety of reasons, including the fact that school business officials are few and far between these days. Many people don't want to go into school business because they could make more money as a teacher, work 10 months out of the year instead of 12, not have the responsibility, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
However, I'm reminded of some training that I received a very long time ago, where the trainer said, teachers are the only group of people who, when they get attacked, they circle the wagons and they shoot inward.
Mm.
We need
Oh,
to we need to make sure that if we're going to take on the problems that we're facing, that we don't shoot inward. Everybody has a role to play in
sure.
making this country great.
Yeah.
Not just young people, not just boomers, not just women, not just minorities,
Yeah.
everybody. So we've got to, when we promote a story, we've got to make sure that we don't push people aside and
Yeah.
say, no, you're not going to contribute to this solution, because you are fill in the blank.
And I will say, just to kind of soothe, hopefully, everybody's feelings, um, this was very live, and that's fine. That's all good. And I love her humor, and I love like how she, looks at things. But I heard it too. Believe me, I heard it loud and clear. That's why I tried to like walk it back a little because I don't think she actually means that. I think what she means is there needs to be more balance. I really do think that's what she intended to
I
say.
agree.
We
And
can say,
she's absolutely right, Sabrina. Sometimes there are boomers sitting in positions that should leave, that should get out of the
right.
marketplace, that
And
should give opportunities to young people. But one of the
right,
things that we need to make sure we do as boomers is to give them a hand up, to help them to get to the
right.
position, you know? Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm
And I
sorry.
think that's what
I'm on my soapbox.
no, you're good, and I hear you, and I'm hearing. That's why I said, guidance and wisdom and stuff. I'm 47. I'm getting the wisdom. I get it. I know. I'm starting to feel the little tingles. So I'm with you, and in fact, what I would do is I would have a conversation with her at the end of the recording and say, "Hey, I totally get where you're coming from on this. It's probably gonna ruffle some feathers. Can we have a conversation?" And either have her repeat, like restate it if she really wants to say something. She still wants the statement of balance or whatever in there. I would let her redo that because I know how to do that. Or we would cut it. So I am actually considering these things and I want to make everyone feel better. I'm aware of PCPR, all that kind of stuff. So I am aware and I'm hearing it. Chris? Oh, yep, Chris.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. So, when, and I say this as someone who's two nieces, who sometimes make these broad generalizations, because they're young, and we did it ourselves. I mean, you think about it when we say stuff like like I was on a coffee and conversation call where it was like all, only women get this issue. Like only women, like we had one of our colleagues say that, right? Only women, you men can't possibly understand where we're coming from on this issue, right? And then somebody on the call had to say, well, I mean, to say all men don't get it or can't in any way empathize is maybe a little bit of a broad brush, right? So we had a conversation about that. So all I would say is, I guess from my perspective, I try and just I try and kind of just be in the moment of that person that's telling their story. It is their lived experience. It is their frustration. And so this is a person that right now feels like the representation that she has in Congress is not fully attuned to her lived experience as a person her age, and and I just leave it at that. I don't try and over analyze it, etc. It's her impression, it's her lived experience. Now, could knowing that may have rubbed somebody wrong. I'm a baby boomer. Like it didn't hurt my feelings that she said it, because I kind of felt like I knew where she was talking about, because she later made the reference to representation, so she was talking about. But I will tell you that I am one of those people that the Congress has been disproportionately a place for men, a disproportionately a place for white men, and so I get it. Like I get that I get her frustration that we want someone that can better speak the issues that are concerning for young working class families or a single person. So anyway, just kind of my perspective on it, but I think it's also an important point to know certain things. When you do say things with a broad brush, they can alienate people, or they can be misunderstood or hurt somebody's feelings or whatever. So that is something that, like Sabrina said, that we can kind of manage in the editing process, or even having a conversation saying some people may not, may misunderstand what you said. We had the same conversation with Jasmine's interview, because Jasmine was somebody who had been very, very wrong by a system that, for a person with a disability, she had workplace discrimination. I mean, she literally, and yet she was saying, but, I don't mind. Like, in other words, she was being so positive about her life that in a way it kind of, it may have made some people not truly understand how wrong she had been. So like that was a conversation Sabrina and I had. This is where, people overcope, with things, and it's okay to say this was really hurtful. It was really hard for me when my boss, didn't want me to use my scooter in work. And when I had to, that I was so sore after coming home, I had to crawl into the shower, because I was trying to compensate for a boss that wouldn't work with me. So that's where, just as interviewers, we would say, Jasmine, it's okay to sometimes, say this is really, really hard, because you remember probably how upbeat and everything that she was, that day. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And yeah, I think that's true. Like you said, you reiterated what I said, so I'm not going to say more. Laura?
Well, I, for one, absolutely agree with what Chris just said. I am 100% supporter of getting more young people involved. Absolutely. That is one of my biggest agenda items. We obviously need more. And that's why I have worked with Marilyn on her forum, her panel. And I'm 70. I'm a boomer. What I didn't appreciate at all is that she didn't specify Congress, yet people in the chat are telling me, well, she's referring to Congress. How do you know she's referring to Congress? I mean, maybe she was, but someone, and I know you said that you're going to watch her story or whatever, and if she says some blanket statements like that, do something about them, smooth them over or whatever. But it really pissed me off. It just really pissed me off that not only did she say that to some of her strongest supporters, I mean, people that believe what she believes, but that other people in the chat are telling me that, well, she means Congress. You don't know. And I'm sorry, today was a hard day.
Oh, no, it's
Sabrina,
okay.
you know.
Oh, no apologies are necessary. You don't need to apologize. I have hard days too, and believe me, I'm crying at the end of them too, and it feels good. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I did not mean, I'm sorry that your feelings did get hurt. I did not anticipate something like this, and that is a fault on my part. I will be more prepared next time for it. And you're right, I can't control everything. But I
No,
will
of
say
course
this, the only reason I thought she was talking about the government is because I thought right before I had been asking her, like, what would she like to see change? So I assumed we were both talking about the government. At least
Okay.
that's what I be remembering, but I could be
Mm,
wrong. I
You
don't
could be right and I missed it. I don't know. I didn't
I
take
don't
my
know.
ADHD meds today, so
My memory is worthless. So we'll see. You know what? I'm gonna watch it back. But Laura, I am so sorry. And I I will not speak for her, but I know that you are a great supporter of all of the young people that you're dealing with on the regular at NWSOFA. And you're doing the youth forum, which I also think is super important. I'm getting a hold of her too. So you're wonderful, Laura, and I'm sorry that your feelings got hurt, but I do want you to know you are a great boomer. I like you as a boomer very much. And I'm glad
Sabrina, I just want you to know the first sign of being a boomer is the loss of memory. So,
don't,
you're what was I just saying?
no, Joe. No, Joe. Don't you curse me. Okay, Boo Money.
God. Hey, Joe, the second thing that goes is the mind.
I don't want to know.
Anyway, hey, Sabrina, I just wanted to point out something else that maybe nobody's noticed. Doug and I talk quite a bit about this because we're into the same kind of stuff. But there are, in human communication, there's three basic elements, okay? We call them the three V's: verbal, vocal, and visual. All right? That's what you need to transfer a message from one human being to another. The way it breaks down, though, is sort of unusual in that the verbal part of the message only really accounts for about 5% of what the receiving entity gets. But the sound of the message counts for another 10%, which means the remaining 85% of whatever we get as a message from another human being is going to be visual. So a lot of times in these podcasts, and Laura, this might help you out because you're such a young'un, you know, Bill and I are 80 and you're just a kid, for God's sakes. But anyway, to see that the visual part is really what we're focusing on, and how the person says stuff and what we read in their face. That's where the power of our system of communication that is being developed with new sofa, Bill. But this is where our strength, this is where our integrity is going to flow from. All right. And if we understand how that communication takes place, then we can use it more to get our message across, to get people to understand that we're just not a bunch of bitchy old ladies. You know. Oh, Debbie, did I do it again? Oh, man. Anyway, hopefully you get
Debbie's
the
not on this call,
message.
Boot Money.